So I want to kind of cover maybe three things for us today, and then I hope we'll have enough time for a little Q&A when it's all said and done, if that's okay. I want to talk a little bit about investment in the city of Detroit. I want to talk about my view on Michigan. Now, before we get started, I'm going to say some things about our state that some of you may or may not like. But I do have a car, and if I have to run, I'll get the hell out of here, going back down to Detroit, and y'all could consider me gone. So I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about the competitive nature of our business being economic development. And then I want to talk a little bit about what's going on from a workforce perspective, because I think all of us are affected by that. So those are the three things I'm going to try to cover. So I came here June of 2018 from Atlanta. I think I don't know how to kind of hold a job, if you will. I worked in five states. I didn't mention my home state. I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I don't know if you all know where Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is, but that's my hometown. I'm proud of it. My favorite team in the world is the Myrtle Beach Seahawks, which is my high school team. And so I've had a chance to learn about this business in a lot of different places. And I've carried that forward to where I am standing today. So DEGC was launched in 1978 by Mayor Coleman Young. And we are the front door for investors, site selectors, and corporations looking to invest in the city of Detroit. I am not a city department. Mayor Mike Duggan is an ex officio member of our board of directors, but he's also the boss. And we follow his lead, but we are the machinery that allows for the things that he wants to get done. And that's what DEGC was designed to do. This includes trying to attract large global enterprises. Local entrepreneurship is something very important to us. And recently, I was just having a conversation with Kate here. We launched this thing called Detroit Means Business. And this was in direct response to the COVID outbreak in our city and in our state and in the country, and how it affected small businesses. One of the things we learned along the way, and you all remember this, as things started to loosen up, because we were locked down and then things started to open back up, small businesses didn't really know how to do that, right? They didn't know where to get resources from. They didn't know where to get personal protective equipment from. They didn't know how to apply for a PPP loan. And one of the things that this state has is abundance is organizations. We're over-organized in the state of Michigan. So you didn't know whether to come to us or the organization across the street or the organization that's down in your neighborhood. You didn't know where to go, right? So what we try to do by activating Detroit Means Business is to, for once and for all, we hope, start a one-stop shop where you come to us and we will be the traffic cop for you, okay? And it has gone swimmingly well. I think we now are thinking about post-pandemic, right? What are we going to do to help small businesses not only survive, but thrive? And that's the mechanism of our organization now. Our organization has also worked on projects that you may have seen when you come to Detroit, the Melinda Center, Little Caesars Arena, Eastern Market. All of those projects were through our organization. So when I got here in 2018, when I say here, I mean Detroit, so y'all don't think I'm like underground here. But when I got here in Detroit, we had just started a 3-year strategic plan. And it was really simple. And they told me, Kevin, if you do this, we'll declare victory. We need you to generate 10,000 jobs in the city of Detroit. We need you to activate about $3.4 billion in new capital investment. And we need you to activate 100 small businesses in the city of Detroit. That's it. How you go about doing that, that's why we hired you. I'm proud to say, and not that I'm so good, but I just happen to be helming the organization, so that's okay. So I'll claim credit. So from 2018 until 2020, we've generated 23,600 new jobs in the city of Detroit. We've generated $7.25 billion in new capital investment. And we've stood up 163 brick and mortar small businesses, not selling socks out your trunk, but brick and mortar storefronts in the city of Detroit. Why is that important? I learned this. City of Detroit is made up of neighborhoods, right? You got this big core, but the city of Detroit, it ain't nothing but little neighborhoods. That's all it is. Full disclosure, I want to sound like a country boy. So I'll say ain't and y'all and all that. So my English, I'm educated, but sometimes it doesn't sound that way. I just want you to know who Jim invites to come talk to his people. It's his fault. He should. Our true value is catalyzing development, turning one deal into many, trying to get contracts for Detroit-based businesses is what we do, right? We want to try to create this 360-degree economy in the city for once and for all. Why 360 degrees? Well, the automotive industry doesn't work unless it has suppliers. So if the automotive industry is 180, then the 360 is the supply chain. It's the people who make the seats and the windows. And hopefully, one of these days, the damn chips. All right? So that's what we got to get to. That's a 360-degree economy. All right? So COVID hasn't kept us from making real positive impact. Of the more than 50 projects we've announced in 2019 and 2020, only a handful have been placed on hold. So this is from March of 2020 until now, only a handful of that 50. Matter of fact, 12 new developments projects have been announced since March of 2020. So right at the peak of COVID till today, we had 12 projects that still called us home. That generated another $170 million in new capital investment. We're particularly proud, next slide. I haven't been doing a terrible job. We're particularly proud of a couple of most recent announcements. This is an old Cadillac stamping facility. Now, those of you all in the automotive business know what Cadillac stamping was. What it was to us was a derelict of a building, diminishing the value of the neighborhoods surrounding it, an eyesore of epic proportions. And we just announced that that facility, which is the one on the bottom, is going to be home to Lear. All right? So we've taken this down and converting it to that. We're seeing this all over the city of Detroit. I'm going to show you another one. This is the home or former home of American Manufacturing Corporation, or AMC. All right? Friday of this past week, we just announced that this is 2 million square feet. 2 million square feet of space. A developer out of Missouri, North Point Development, has purchased this facility with help through our brownfield tax credits in TIF, where we did the same thing with Cadillac stamping. And we're taking this down This will now be a 2-building complex totaling 728,000 square feet for a to-be-named auto supplier, right? Y'all saw how quickly I went to be named because I knew you were thinking I'm going to tell you who it is, but I'm not. That's the power of having developer public-private partnerships come together, utilize the tools that we have at our disposal to activate and take down these kinds of buildings. Now, I know they have historical significance, and some of your parents might have worked in that back in the day, but look, it's been closed for 40 years, right? I think it's over. And so we're gonna move on from that. So working with the city helps us, Detroiters, we're involved in every phase of this kind of development. That was the model that we were trying to do when we successfully landed Stellantis, or FCA, which also helped pivot now to this conversation that I want to have with you about workforce. Having a prepared workforce is the most dramatic and impactful thing we can do. It goes beyond incentives. It's important, and Jim and I will talk a little bit about that maybe at the Q&A phase, about why the utilization of these incentives that were just passed in the State House and Senate are so important to us from a competitive perspective. But it has done, we're in this thing, and you might have read the headline called the Great Resignation, right? Let's dig into that a little bit. A record 4.3 million people, or about 2.9% of the nation's workforce, quit. Just in August, 75% of Michigan small businesses said they had at least one job opening. 75% of Michigan small businesses said, I got one job, at least one, that somebody can come and get right now. Some of you probably have job openings that you can't find folks for. And it's led by a couple of industries: retail, warehouse, restaurant and bars, healthcare, and social assistance jobs are leading the way from this Great Resignation. Here's some of the reasons that we've found, and I'm gonna give you the reasons. I'm gonna give you my reason. I'm gonna give you Kevin's. This is what the Labor Department says. Fears of contracting COVID, or they won't get vaccinated. A financial cushion. Unemployment benefits is the financial cushion. Matter of fact, I just read this morning, some more is getting ready to come through. I got a little bit of an issue with that. I'll talk about the same. Dependent care obligations. Can't find elder care for your parents. My mom is 81 years old. My dad's 84. If something breaks loose, I'm gone. I'm an only child. I got to go take care of mom and dad. That's happening all over the country. A revolt against years of poor pay, meaning y'all weren't paying them nothing. And stressful conditions on top of that. Then lack of flexibility. Scheduling. All right? I look at it a different way. This is how I look at it. I call this, we're in a period of free agency. It's a big switch, not a big quit. Right? Everybody's a free agent. It's like being a free agent in sports. I don't want to play for the Lakers anymore. I want to go play for the Celtics. I'm a Laker fan, so let me switch that. I don't want to play for the Celtics anymore. I want to play for the Lakers. So I call it the Big Six. Here's the Big Six. I didn't bring my glasses, so I got to pull up my notes here. 1, resignation. We just talked about that one. 2, resetting. 3, restaffing. 4, resettlement. 5, revenue. And 6, and finally, rudeness. Rudeness. Want me to demonstrate that for you for a second? You're on an airplane, and you're sick of wearing that damn mask. And you just had a terrible day, and you go off on the flight attendant. You're being rude. Ain't her fault or his fault, but you're so through with the circumstance that you go off on the flight attendant. That's rude. So guess what the flight attendant does? You know what? You ain't paying me shit. I don't have to put up with this anymore. You know what? I'll just go do something else. Restaurant workers are number one. You go in a restaurant and treat the restaurant worker like crap. Then all of a sudden, when they get there and your food is 15 minutes longer than you thought it should be, you wonder what happened. Well, you are what happened. Because they don't want to put up with your rudeness. Everyone in here has been guilty of it, including me. That's the rudeness. Resettlement. You know what? I can work remote. I don't have to be in Midland anymore. I can go to Juniper, Florida. As long as I got internet, I can work from there. Resettlement. Restaffing. I want to change careers. That's restaffing. All right? Revenue. We just talked about it. I'm telling you, Americans don't save as much money as they're putting on. Something's doing duty. Number one, the government needs to shut off the faucet. Turn off the camera. Government needs to shut off the faucet. There's too many jobs available for this is Kevin speaking. This is in DEGC, this is in the city of Detroit. This is Kevin. There's too many jobs available for us to still be paying certain benefits. I'm not saying all, but certain benefits. It's causing this lag of people going out and finding employment, in my opinion. Now you can turn the camera back on. And then we talked about resignation. So that's the 6, in my opinion. I didn't want to spend too much time on that, but I get passionate about labor and workforce and all that kind of stuff. So we know, and finally, economic development is a competitive sport. It really is. You might have heard of Ford's recent announcement to go down to Kentucky and Tennessee, right? So you've also heard this finger pointing going on. Well, what happened? Well, why did they go there? And whose fault was it? No. And finger pointing and blaming and the like. And the rationale behind why Michigan wasn't really considered. So our good friend, Quentin Messer from the MMDC recently talked to us about the deal itself. Talked to us about what Ford did and why they made the decision that they made. You are leaders in business and civic and community organizations in this room. You all know how to make your sausage. But you know that we as cities, we face high hurdles. Like, for an example, that battery facility probably couldn't have fit in the city of Detroit, but it could fit here in Middle Michigan, right? We just don't have the land mass for it. If they took their facility and overlaid it on the city of Detroit, we'd have to clear out some neighborhoods. And we've already done that before and got in trouble for it. So we don't do that anymore. But it's an uneven playing field already. Or, why is the South kind of kicking our ass a little bit? And it's due to greenfield sites, maybe. And relaxed regulations, maybe. A primarily non-union work environment, for sure. And excessive amounts of incentives, maybe. But here's the thing. Michigan is the 10th largest state in the country. We have financial capabilities in this state. But what we tend not to do is deploy it on a consistent basis. We got just as much money. You mean to tell me my home state, South Carolina, 46th smallest state, we're the 46th state in the country in terms of population. You mean to tell me South Carolina can cobble up more resources than the state of Michigan? I don't buy that. I'll tell you what's going on. Rust Belt cities like Detroit, we got to find new ways to compete. That means that we need to create a new easy button. We need to make it easier for companies to come to Detroit and Middle Michigan than anywhere else in the nation. We need to offer up white box facilities like what we just showed. I just showed you. Those are speculative spaces that were developed. We need to wrap services around our people, incentive packages that work, and amenities that are attractive. I'll let you in on a little secret that we're going to do in Detroit. We're going to create a template that was used in two places, and we call these business coordination zones. Not unlike the Navy Yards in Philadelphia or the Hudson Yards in New York, we're going to provide these zones to investors with a concentration in a concentrated dose of tools that all they have to do is pick the spot. This is the zone. And when you pick this location, everything you need is already been entitled. Everything, including the incentives that you would qualify for. I don't have to go to the city council and negotiate these. They would have been pre-negotiated, right? I'm trying to work at the speed of market. And that's where we suffer. We don't operate at the speed of market in this state to this day. With all the loss that we've had, we still don't operate at the speed of market. So we're going to launch 2 of these locations in the city of Detroit. More to come on that. If Jim ever invites me back, I'll tell you how it's going. We need to spend money on telling our story. Just like Pure Michigan, the tourism campaign, we need a campaign that tells the investors our business story. And that's what these new dollars that are coming out of the ARPA funds and other places around the state are going to do. We need to turn the narrative around about the state of Michigan really, really fast. Our plan is to dominate the Big Ten for real. I'm not talking about Michigan getting ready to go up against the University of Georgia. Now, listen, I was the president of the Chamber of Commerce in Athens, Georgia. Where's the University of Georgia? Athens. So, I'm a little torn. We cannot use the old playbook to create new strategies, right? Our competition is not interested or impressed by Michigan's past reputation. Companies will go to where they are wanted, right? Our economic lives depend on it. I really do wish one of our sports teams would win a championship. That would give me the perfect reason to collect all the old plans, turn them into confetti, and throw them out of the window during the parade. That's what I'm going to do with the plans. So we need to once and for all get rid of this middle of the pack mentality in Michigan. You're settled. Michigan settled. Michigan does not know how to play with the lead. You had it, and you let it go. Show me a team, Tom Brady, who knows how to play with the lead, and I'll show you a champion. Show me a team who's settled for middle of the pack, and I will show you not a champion. So Michigan has to make a decision. Are we going to win the Big Ten? Or are we going to act like we're in the middle of the pack? Now, I came from Atlanta, Georgia. We play to win. We claim number one even when we're not. That shows you the mentality of Georgia. They claim number one even when they're not. They're probably claiming they're still number one right now, and Alabama just beat the hell out of them. Case in point. So, in this order is how we have to do business. First, MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, needs to kick open doors of opportunity and tell the state story with incentives that work. A legislature that knows how to win. I challenge each and every one of you, if you know of your legislators, if you talk to them, ask them, do they know how to win? I ain't talking about the library, repaving the parking lot at the library. Do you know how to win? Because we're in an economic war for jobs and investment in this state. If they can't tell you they know how to win, see them out of the door. Now, then we need to allow the regions in Middle Michigan to focus on telling the Michigan story. And then you have to leave it to Jim and I and our organizations to close the deal with competitive advantages that we share with companies that want to come into our regions. That's how it's done. Thank you for allowing me to share that with you this morning. I appreciate everything that you all do and your presence here today, and I'm open to have a quick dialogue with you while we can. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
If I can just, comment on one of your remarks about federal programs that are discouraging people from finding jobs, and that's one result of it. But the other thing is that it's causing inflation that we haven't seen in 40 years. How are we going to handle that? What is your organization doing to brace us against what's coming at us?
Well, the inflationary question that you raise, we began to see early signs of it prior to COVID occurring. I think with the supply chain situation that we're confronting and being able to get goods and services off boats and on the shelves has caused this mass disruption in pricing. Given that, and when those things resettle, we will see inflationary indexes start to trend back in the direction that we're a little bit more comfortable with. I think a bigger question, or at least from my point of view, is how do we reactivate the workforce, right? How do we shift from a governmental-led recovery, which is what is happening now with these ARPA funds, to a pure market-driven recovery. Both things are happening. One is outpacing the other. And that's why you're seeing these inflationary figures go. Governmental intervention is outpacing market pressures. Stock market's doing great. You know that. Well, it was this morning. But that, so we're slightly out of balance, and I think that's what's causing the inflation is governmental market-driven economic growth.
So, but you said that it's going to readjust soon. How soon is it?
I would say by summer of 23. So we got another cycle here that we got to get through, right? Mm-hmm. I say by summer 23, you'll begin to see things will start to loosen up. Everybody will decide that they're going to, somehow get some kind of shot, either, the vaccine or embalming fluid, but you'll get some kind of shot, and we'll see what happens. Yes.
Thank you so much, Kevin. You really gave a great presentation. I'm curious about the neighborhood theory that you have.
Yes.
And the all-inclusive package. So I think that a lot of the EDCs feel like we're doing all-inclusive packages when we bring them in. So what is unique, or what other things are you including that maybe we haven't considered?
So, and I'm not sure, and Jim and I, we hadn't really talked about how you all activate small business. In City of Detroit, we have a program called Motor City Match. And it's designed to activate storefronts as well as technical assistance, as well as training for entrepreneurs to invest in their neighborhoods. This is not downtown Detroit. This is neighborhoods that depend on small business growth in order to get goods and services. And when that gets out of balance, particularly in an urban environment like Detroit, it causes this very rapidly declining physical and even emotional scar on those neighborhoods. So Motor City Match is a grant giving program. We help with business planning, we help with financial modeling, we help with site selection, construction, and we do that on in a cash grant basis. So if you take, it is also a public-private endeavor. So we have foundations that invest in Motor City Match. We use CDBG block grant dollars for that purpose. And the general fund for the city of Detroit. We get an allocation from there. So we got three sources of financial support to do this, but it's all about neighborhood stabilization. And when you make a commitment that the neighborhoods are important, then we created this model to invest in those neighborhoods. Yes, sir.
A couple of questions. One, there was a recent announcement in the partnership between Ross and Illich.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
the other is, with what Gilbert has built, is there an overbuild now, given that everyone can work from home and Zoom from home?
You know, it's interesting. There is a federal bill that is under consideration right now. And I think one version of it has passed the House, I think. It's being considered in the Senate next. But what it will allow for is for developers who have built or will build office space. Dan Gilbert is an office space building son of a gun, right? But you can convert that into residential and get tax credit for it. So you may have floors 1 through 15 for office space. You may have floors 16 through 30 residential, and you get a credit for it. Because what they're trying to do is incentivize residential in core downtown areas. Not just not just our big downtown in Detroit, but he could be here in Mount Pleasant, right? So that's what is happening now. Now, is he going to build any more beyond the Hudson site? Probably not. But as soon as I say that, he just acquired Cadillac Towers 2 weeks ago, right? But I think that's going to be one of those buildings that will have some office, some residential, and that will be probably the model moving forward until things rebalance, if they ever. See, I think what we're in is what we're in. It's just kind of, urban, suburban, things just kind of shift around. That's a great question. Ross Illich. Okay. The first iteration of the Detroit Innovation Center was Ross Gilbert. This is like, Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards, right? It's, Battle of the Billionaires. So it was Ross and Gilbert. We had a site. The site wasn't ready to be delivered at the time frame that Mr. Ross wanted to develop the Innovation Center. Things got put on pause. Bring Chris Illich and the Illich Olympia Development to the table. Great site, great location, right next to Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. That's how it happened. But the first deal was Ross and Gilbert. Now it's Ross and Illich. Billionaire. Yeah. Yes.
You had discussed reinvigorating the workforce, and what are the strategies that Detroit is employing to do that, and what is the role of your organization in that strategy?
Say the first part again.
Reinvigorating the workforce?
Yes, yeah. So what we've tried to do in partnership with my partner, Nicole Sherrod Freeman, who runs Detroit at Work, is we work with companies to actually become their HR department. We did this with Stellantis. So for an example, when Stellantis announced their new development, they were going to hire 5,000 people. 20,000 people applied for 5,000 jobs. Now, where we stepped in Detroit at Work stepped in, is we helped train those who were pre-qualified on how to pass and get through the cognitive test, right? Even citizens, returning citizens were qualified, which is important, by the way. And so we're now taking us being kind of the pre-screening organization to any other business, large or small, right? Because when you post a job, you want some assurances that the person who applies has the capability, right? And so we've become that. And I think that's the way we're going to stay for the foreseeable future. We're doing it. We did it for Stellantis. We're doing it for Dakota Integrated Systems. We're going to do it for Lear. We're going to do it for this yet to be named supplier that I told you about earlier. So we're going to do that. And that's going to be the way forward for us. And I encourage you all to think about doing that as well if you haven't already. Thank you.